Hey, the National Football League is going with the business as usual approach in announcing the schedule for the 2020 National Football League season. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We have a jobs report that's going to be released the day after the schedule release, and it's forecast to show us an unemployment rate of 16%, perhaps 17. Okay, maybe closer to 20 in reality. That says nothing for the underemployment rate, which has to be close to 70%, but I digress. The league has to deal with President Trump saying today he didn't know when stadiums are going to be available. Hopefully, and I'm paraphrasing, later in the year, and he mentions baseball and football. He said that in a press conference this morning at the White House. Point of it is, the NFL should not move forward, although it looks like it already has, without the full investment and cooperation of public officials. This schedule release should be different from any other, reflecting the times. It should include NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, the President of the United States, as many of the governors as both can get into one room as possible, but most notably California Governor Gavin Newsom, because it is Governor Newsom who has been pushed as the person saying more than any other elected official of a high profile that sports will have to take a back seat. It'll revive in 2021 and so on. If you want to send a signal that America's coming back, first of all, the federal government has to spend money to make that happen. It hasn't spent enough. The target is 9.8 trillion. It should be that. But for the purpose of sports, which is reflective of the American lifestyle, and therefore very important that we reestablish it quickly but correctly, you have to make sure that elected officials are giving the thumbs up here, because that means you figured out a way to pay for the services from police, fire, essential service providers who are also focused on the pandemic in different ways. Shelter in place allowed us a luxury of lower crime rates, something not talked about much at all. But now that people want to open up government, guess what? The crime rates are going to kick up, the cost to government's going to kick up, and all of this is going to impact what governments can spend leading into the 2020 NFL season. If you think this has nothing to do with football, you don't understand the business of the National Football League. The business of the National Football League is working with public organizations to make absolutely certain that proper roads, security, and energy, among other provisions, transportation through the air and on the ground, are provided, as well as the means to access facilities. That's particularly true for the new facilities in Inglewood and Las Vegas. Technically Clark County, but I digress. So this should be a different rollout for the league. It should have a plan, a war plan. It should have scenarios of where it wants to be, when, how it got there, and what is left to do. The NFL headquarters should have a room converted to a pandemic war room that has different panels. Each panel has a specific subject area: game day transportation, ticketing and ticket management, messaging, public messaging, and so on. In each of these panels or posters should have goals and objectives as markers, and then you can use your computers with a special website, security aided of course, to monitor where the league is in terms of these goals and objectives and why and who does what. It's a great way of allocating work within the league and with partners to the league and creating new partners to get the job done. But that's how the NFL needs to work, and it should not move forward without public officials making statements on behalf of the league. That gives comfort to everyone that this is truly an all hands on deck effort. Right now, the NFL is not presenting it, and it's a gigantic mistake. Subscribe to Zinni62 on YouTube.